Great. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our presentation about the training dashboard today. It's so exciting to see that we've got about 57 of you here so far ready to learn with us today. I'm guessing we'll probably have a couple more people trickle in over the next few minutes, but we're just super excited to show the dashboard to you, kind of explain how some things work, and also give you an opportunity to learn from Bernice and Kelly, who are our panelists, who are class trainers just like you, who have participated in the piloting over the last couple months. Yeah, we're just so excited that the dashboard is finally here, and to kind of give you all the information and tools that you need to get started in using it. I see now we're up to 65, 66, so we definitely have more people trickling in, which is awesome. What I think we'll do is just go ahead and kind of get started with introductions as people are arriving. So I'm going to scoot forward to this slide that has our faces, and we can kind of start talking about who we are and why we're on the webinar, and then we'll move back to some more logistical stuff in a couple minutes once it seems like everyone's here. So I can go first since I'm already talking. I'm Campbell Bowie Moltz, and I am the certification program manager at Teachstone, and my job is basically about kind of taking on different projects at Teachstone to, basically improve you all's experience as people with certifications at Teachstone. This is obviously focused on affiliate trainers, but you all are all observers too, and many of you also have some of our coaching certifications. So I'm sure you have seen my name before on stuff, but that's kind of where I focus now. And prior to moving into this job about 1.5 years ago, I worked on the content team at Teachstone for about 5 years. So I definitely have been at Teachstone for a long time using class. And also as part of my job, I am an observer on all 6 age levels, and also have attended the pre-KCCT. So I have that experience in common with you all, even though I haven't personally ever delivered observation training, but I have done a fair amount of data collection and love using the class. So that is me. Let's see, Kelly, do you want to tell them about yourself a little bit next?
Sure. I'm Kelly DeMarco. I'm an education coordinator for the Council for Economic Opportunities in Greater Cleveland. So we're in Ohio. I am the class affiliate trainer for our agency, and so I manage all the observers within the agency to observe our classrooms that we serve for children and families. So we use that data to collect to see where we can improve teachers' quality interactions in the classrooms.
Great. And Bernice, would you like to share about yourself with the group?
Sure. I'm Bernice Hagler-Cody, and I work for Child Development Council of Franklin County Head Start in Columbus, Ohio. We are a single-purpose grantee, and we serve about 2,300 children. My title is a school readiness manager. I've been all different titles within Head Start, but I track and monitor our class reliable certified observers and help them, and I also help provide training. I'm one of 7 trainers that we have within the agency.
Wonderful. And then Allison, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Allison Bloomfield. I work at Teachstone with Campbell on the certifications programs team. So I'm sure you've all seen my name before. I send you a lot of agreements. But also one thing to note is that if you plan to deliver virtual training, we'll have a time to talk together one-on-one as well. So sometimes it's nice to have a face to put to the name. But yeah, so I help all of our affiliate trainers with a lot of different things. But if there is anything that I can do to help you, please feel free to reach out to me, and I can always make sure to connect you with whoever you need. So yeah.
right, great. And then in addition to the 4 of us that you can see, we also have a couple of other Teachstone colleagues who will be helping us out on the webinar today. So first, our colleague Stephanie will be monitoring your question box and kind of, responding to stuff in the moment when appropriate, and then also holding questions for our question and answer time at the end. And then our colleague Gloria is also here, and she is running some of the logistics for us on the webinar, just to make sure that everything runs smoothly. On some of those logistical notes, just one thing to know is that we are recording, and so all 74 of you who are here with us today will receive a link to the recording tomorrow if you want to go back and refer to anything that we're showing you today. And then we also plan to put the recording in the Affiliate Trainer Village because we know that a lot of people who are attending today may not actually need to schedule a training for a couple months. So that way you'll be able to access the recording there and make sure everything feels fresh, once you're ready to do that. You'll also receive a certificate of attendance for your time with us today. And then finally, just notice your question and answer box and know that that is a tool for you today to use to ask anything that comes to mind about what we're sharing with you. And as I said before, if it's something kind of clarifying in the moment, Stephanie will go ahead and write back to you, or kind of just tell us what you're asking and we'll respond. Or if it's kind of a broader question, she may hold it to the end for our question time together. So that's kind of the logistical stuff. So now we'll move into things. All right, so what are we going to do today? So today we're going to show you how to schedule a training and register participants, also how to check attendance and mark completion in the new dashboard, how to register a virtual training, knowing that, with COVID, that is what most of you are delivering right now. And what's great is the training dashboard has some new features to support that and make it easy to get the information to your trainees about that virtual training. And then there's also a really cool new enhanced reliability report that we'll show to you and show you how to use. And then along the way, we'll have opportunities for Bernice and Kelly to tell you about their experiences and share their knowledge. So before we kind of move into the bulk of the presentation, we did have a little quick poll for you to respond to. And so Gloria is going to launch that now. And this is basically just, we're curious about how you're feeling about, the fact that the new dashboard is here. We know that a lot of you have been asking for something more up to date and easier to use register trainings for a long time, but we also know that it's a big change, and that it can feel hard sometimes to get used to new technology. So we were just kind of curious to see how the people who are with us today are feeling about the dashboard as we move into the webinar. All right, so we've got lots of good responses rolling in. It looks like about 50% of you have responded so far. And there's, definitely a couple of responses that so far are kind of winning, but it'll be interesting to see as we get more in. All right, so as you can see, we've kind of got 2 key responses. A little over half of you kind of, aren't, you're just not too emotional about it, but you're here and ready to learn how to use it. And then we also have about 1/3 of you who are very excited and feel ready. And then some smaller groups who are excited but nervous. And then about 4% of you are, kind of would rather be sticking with what you're used to. So that is interesting to see as we move into things. All right, so I guess I'll move on to the next slide now. Okay, So I first just kind of wanted to cover on a super high level what is new and improved. So the first thing is that you'll notice is that the look and feel and navigation just like are a lot more up to date and look a lot more like other parts of the Teachstone dashboard that you might use. We also have tried to make it a lot easier to schedule things, add participants, and make payments. The other thing that's cool too is that your participants will get immediate access to certificates, tests, etc. And then something that's huge for those of you on the call who also deliver class group coaching or MMCI is that you can now totally independently register those trainings in the panel without having to go to Teachstone for part of the process. So that's going to be a lot more efficient and kind of give you all more autonomy in delivering those trainings. And then there also are new easy ways to get to your training videos and materials right from the panel. And then we also have that new, more detailed reliability report. So with that in mind, I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second, and I'm going to ask our panelists, Bernice and Kelly, kind of our first question for today, which is just kind of, when you were trying out the panel this fall to register your own training, what things did you like the most about it or feel like were kind of the most helpful improvements over the old affiliate trainer panel?
I'll go first. Well, I really like the look of it, actually. The overall appeal is, it just draws you in. It's very easy to use. It's very clearly defined what goes where. It's basically step by step. I don't really feel like you can go wrong or make a mistake. That's the best part about the registration.
I agree. In October, it was early October when I started this pilot project. So I had already registered under the old dashboard, but saw the pilot email go out and thought, oh, I want to try that. And so I was partially in the old dashboard and partially in the, and was able to be the pilot in the pilot dashboard. So it was really easy. It was a step, as Kelly said, it was a step-by-step process. And it was very easy. It took probably 25 minutes just for Stephanie to show me how to do it. I only had 5 or 6 participants to enter, but it was great and it's very attractive. So I like the way that it looks.
Definitely.
Okay, great. Thank you so much to both of you for that. So now I'm going to turn things over to Allison, and she's going to kind of lead you through the first part of our demo today about kind of how to initially get your training set up.
Thanks, Campbell. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and show you a couple of things that you'll be able to do in the dashboard. So let me go ahead and share my screen with you. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to look over here because I have another screen. So sorry if that's distracting. But this is how you're going to get to your new trainer dashboard. So you won't want to click on the graduation hat anymore. You're going to click at the very top. You're going to go to My Trainings. And you'll see that I have a couple of active trainings here right now. And I can also click on all trainings to see any that may be active or completed, or canceled trainings, which I can also toggle between here at the top, which is really nice. Another nice thing is I can search for the trainings that I'm looking for. So if I know I need to look for an MMCI training or a CGC training, I could type that in. And I also can look by start date and end date. So it's really nice to be able to filter what you're looking for among your trainings. And so we're actually going to go ahead and make a training. So to do that, we're going to click Create New Training here at the top. And you'll see that I have a couple of options here because I'm a pre-K trainer. So I'm going to go ahead and create a pre-K observation training. And we are in a little bit of our testing environment, so this will look a little bit different for you. There'll be a picture here when you go to create a training, but it'll pretty much still be the same. So one nice thing here is you'll be able to check if you're going to do virtual or an in-person training. So one thing to note with virtual is, like I mentioned briefly earlier, is that if you are doing a virtual training, we have an approval process for you to go through. So it is something you have to go through in order to deliver training virtually for class. So in order to start that process, you can reach out to our customer support team. You can reach out to them via chat on our website or by email to start this process, and they'll send over a little form to you. But if you're doing introduction or observation training, I'll set up a meeting with you where we can talk about delivering training virtually. If you're doing MMCI or CGC training, it will be someone from another team, but also a Teachstone employee who will talk with you. So, awesome. So we're going to go ahead and pretend like we're doing a virtual training right now. And let's go ahead and select some dates that are a little bit further out. So let's see. Let's say we're delivering training in February on the 22nd, and we're going to start at, let's see, let's start at 9 a.m. on the dot, and we're going to end our training at 5 on the dot on the first day. And for our second day, we need to change this to February. We're going to go to the 23rd, and let's just say maybe on the 23rd, we're going to start at 9:30, and we're going to go until 5:30. Not 5 a.m. Let's change that. Yeah, the system will tell us that that's wrong, so that's good. Let's go to 5:30 p.m. So it's nice because you can select intervals as well in this panel. For our training location, I'll just put in Teachstone's address here. And it's really nice because you can put in a web link for your virtual training. Now, you also may not want to put in a physical address here if you're doing a virtual training, and that's okay as well. And then this last section is really nice. It's very flexible, so you can really add whatever you want here. So I'm going to add lunch here and just say that we're going to have a 45-minute break for lunch each day so that my participants know that. And then I'm just going to click Create Training. So now you can see that your training is created. It's in the panel. It's there. If you want to go back to the page where you just were in order to change your dates or the times on each day, you'll just click this Edit button up in the corner. You can change whatever you like, and you can either update your training or cancel out if you don't want to change anything. So yeah, this is what your training will look like. You can see that we have 68 days until our training. You can see the training location, the web link for our training, the session dates. This description will auto-populate dependent on the template that you use for your training. So since I chose the observation training, this filled it in for me. And then you can see my little lunch section that I created, talking about how we're going to have a 45-minute break for lunch each day. So yeah. One quick thing I want to show you that is related to your training, but not as related as the next step maybe. But a fun place is that you'll be able to click your view materials here. This one won't actually work in our testing environment right now, so I'll show you what it will look like in production. So normally you would click here, and then it would go to your courses, so your My Courses section of your panel. And then you're going to want to click on your Affiliate Class Trainer Resource Village. And within the village, you can click on, say, I'm going to teach Pre-K version 4, so I'm going to click that. And then I can look at my agenda for the observation training, my PowerPoint. I can look at my Master Code Justifications booklet. I can also pull up the training videos and exemplar videos. And one great thing about the Affiliate Trainer Village and having these videos in the village is that you can turn on closed captions for either English or Spanish for these videos. So that's a really good thing, especially if you don't have people where English is their first language. Sometimes it can be really helpful for them to have captions up as well. And you can also see the introduction videos are here too. So we'll go back to our training panel now. And like I said, when you click this, it will automatically take you to your online courses. So now let's look at participants. So we can go ahead and add our participants here. And it's really nice because we can actually add a list of participants. So I'm actually going to just add a list of emails that I have with a comma separating each. And I'm going to go ahead and add them to my list of my training. And then you can see that all of their names show up, and that shows that these people have Teachstone accounts. And if it just shows up as an email address, it means that they're going to make an account. So once we add these people to the training, they'll actually get an email of whether they're going to approve the training or not. So that's what this registration status is. And that's also what this bar at the top here is. It will update depending on how many people are invited to the training and how many people have registered for the training and how many seats that you have available for your training. So that's a really nice feature too. So another big thing will be paying for your participants, which has gotten a lot easier. So one nice thing is that you can pay for all of your participants at the same time, or you can just pay for a certain number of participants if you'd like to. And the nice thing is you could pay for one person individually, and you could send their participants to their materials, sorry, to one address, and then pay for the next person and send their materials somewhere else, which is great for a virtual training. Or you can send everything to one place. So I'm going to go ahead and select all 3 participants, and I'm going to say that I want to pay for all 3. I could also request payment from someone else, which is similar to how you can do this in your old panel where you request payment from a purchaser. So that's kind of how that works. But today we're going to say that I'm paying for the participants. So when I click that, I can go ahead and put in the billing address. So I'm going to just go ahead and put in Teachstone here. So you can fill in the Teachstone training, you put in an email, the physical address, as well as a phone number. And I'll go ahead and click continue. And you can see here that right now it has an estimated shipping or sales tax. But when I say that my shipping address is the same as my billing address, it's going to go ahead and update the tax for me. And then when I say that I am shipping it via ground shipping, which is the only option, this is the same shipping that you've had forever. So it's not any different. You'll just want to make sure to complete this probably about 2 weeks before your training. Right now, just with some shipping delays and things that are out of our control, it does take a little bit longer right now. So I would recommend doing this at least 2 weeks before your training. But now we're going to click that we're going to be doing FedEx ground shipping and click continue, and that will also update here. And now we can either pay by credit card or we can pay by purchase order. So pay by credit card looks similar to just how you would expect, and pay by purchase order looks like this. One important thing to note with paying with a purchase order is this option will not appear unless you are paying for something that is $400 or more. With the Teachstone's purchase order policy, it has to be over $400 to use a purchase order. So if you don't see this option showing up, it's probably because you're only paying for one person maybe, and so it won't appear in that case, and you would need to use a credit card. But in this case, we're just going to go ahead and put in my purchase order number, and we're going to choose a file on my computer and update my purchase order here. So upload that, and then I can finish and pay for my training. Oh, I have to accept my cancellation policy before I can pay. Okay, and so now it's just thinking about my payment. Hopefully it will let us go on to the next step. Oh, well, we had an unknown error. So in that case, we'll just go back so that you can see the panel. But so yeah, once these people have been paid for, this will update and it will say paid. So unfortunately it didn't work right now, but that's one important thing to know. So yeah. And I will go ahead and turn it back over to Campbell, and she's going to show you a little bit more about taking attendance for your training as well as completing your training in the panel.
All right. Hi, everyone. So we're doing kind of a handoff here because with the way that the panel is designed, it won't let you take attendance or complete a training until it's the actual training dates. And then on the flip side, it won't let you pay for people when it's the training dates. So basically, like Allison is kind of showing you the first part, and then I'm going to show you what happens once it's your training day. So you can see here, I have a training where I'm pretending that I'm doing pre-K obs, and it's day 2 right now. Oh, also too, just for context on that one thing not working. So Allison and I are showing you stuff in Teachstone's testing environment today, not in the normal version of the dashboard that you'll have. And the reason why we're doing that is because, you know, if we were showing you in the real one with what Allison just did, if it had worked, it then would have started like shipping materials and stuff like that, because that happens automatically. And so we don't want to accidentally ship things or like put stuff in our real data that's fake. But yours, like, do not worry, yours should work. It's just kind of the testing environment can be a little bit buggy sometimes. And that's also why, like, if you look at my screen right now, like there's a big gray rectangle, but in your version, there are nice pictures in all of these places. So it looks a little bit prettier for you too when you're working in the panel. But in any case, back to my fake day 2 of pre-K obs. So you can see first, I've clicked on take attendance. I have 0 days left to go because I'm in the middle of my training. And then this just kind of shows you what right now I'm toggled to yesterday. And so you can see where I took attendance yesterday and had 4 people there, 2 people not there. So let's say now it's day 2 and I'm ready to take attendance again. So it's really easy. You just put a check mark next to whoever has shown up. And let's just pretend that we had our same learners as yesterday come, because the other 2, for whatever reason, you know, had a conflict and we'll need to do it again another day. So now that I've taken attendance, I'm ready to complete the training. So all I have to do is just click right here, and it puts a little box up just to double check, because this is something that you can't undo. So they just want you to be absolutely sure, because as soon as you do this, people will get access to, you know, their certification test, the video library, their certificate, all of those things. So you just want to be sure not to do that until you're actually ready for them to have access to those things. But let's pretend it's 5 p.m. today, and so I'm ready, and so I'm going to complete my training. And then I have this nice check mark because I have completed it. And then if we go back to training details, you can see that now I have access to a reliability report. And so right now, no one who attended my training has taken their test yet. So it's going to say that my attendees are 0% reliable right now. So that's kind of what that looks like here. But then this is where I would click to get to my reliability report. Right now it looks boring because, you know, again, no one's taken their test. So what I'm going to do is show you what one looks like in real life if you've had a bunch of people test. And so in order to do that, since it takes a while after, you know, a training to get a lot of data in there, is I'm going to actually show you back on the slide deck some screenshots from a real report with people's like names and emails blocked out. So let me switch back over to our slides. Oh yeah, but wait, before I do that, sorry, one other unrelated thing is that we just also wanted to show you what it looks like for those of you who are registering class group coaching or MMCI. So basically it looks exactly the same as everything that Allison and I just showed you, and the process is identical. The only thing that's going to be different is just you'll have more sessions, right? So like here's an example of a pre-K. So there are 12 different dates, and similarly you get to take attendance separately for all of those days to kind of keep track of who's attending. Oops. So now we'll get back to the reliability report. And I apologize too if some of this text is a little small. We made it as big as we could, but it still isn't super big. I see a thumbs up from Bernice. It doesn't look too bad. So that's good to hear. But yeah, so this is an example from one of our Teachstone trainings that was delivered back in October. So at this point, you know, most 12 out of 14 have tested, so that's great. We have a good representative amount of data in here so far. And you can see where I blocked out the trainer's name. But this is kind of the top half of the screen that I was just showing you all. And so if you click on that view training details, you'd be able to toggle back to that screen where it lists everyone. But you can see here of these 12 people who have started their test, 10 have passed so far. And between the green and the purple, you can see the breakdown of who was reliable on attempt 1 and then who needed attempt 2 and passed there. And then for this particular cohort, no one's tried attempt 3. But if they were to do that, that would fill in the rest of the circle with orange. And then you also have this other view where you can kind of see the breakdown of like during attempt 1, how many were reliable versus not reliable. So those are just sort of some cool graphs to visualize your data in that way. And then if you scroll down on the exact same page, you'll see a chart that breaks down how all of your people individually are doing, which, you know, the goal of this is obviously to help you out as you're kind of providing reliability support to your learners and trying to stay on top of how everyone's doing. If this was your real report, again, you wouldn't see a giant sad looking black rectangle. Instead, you would have the list of names and emails. But again, since these are real learners, we want to be sensitive in showing their data. But so basically you can see first people status, you know, have they not started? Are they in the middle of a testing attempt, or have they passed, or have they, you know, unfortunately one person here gone through all 3 and been unsuccessful? And then you can also see exactly how they did on each attempt. And then what's really cool is the blue numbers that are next to people, you can actually click on those and see their actual score report to see even more about, you know, where things are going well and what dimensions they might be struggling on a little bit more for those reliability support conversations. So I'll show you what that looks like. And so basically it looks exactly like the score report that, you know, we all get when we do our own, you know, cert and recert tests every year. So you'll see their overall score at the top. And then the first half will be this view where you see their overall reliability on each video, and then kind of if they had a clear scoring tendency of higher or lower than the master coders, it'll label that for you. And then if you scroll down, you will see a summary of how they did kind of by domain, and then you can expand those to look at the dimensions. And so, you know, you can see that this learner, you know, is having a little bit more of a challenge with instructional support. And so I showed you what it would look like to expand that and see how they did on each dimension. And then, you know, similarly, you know, this is what it would look like if someone wasn't reliable. You know, it looks like this, you know, and then the bottom would look like this. So it's kind of the same either way, but it just gives you some great data to look at, sorry, as you're guiding people through the testing process. Okay, so now that we've kind of given you our little tour, we wanted to do, actually, wait, no, before that, going back, sorry, forgot one thing. I'm gonna stop screen sharing, and we have another question for Kelly and Bernice to respond to. Alrighty, so next question. Based on your experience in piloting the dashboard, do you have any tips, tricks, recommendations for our participants today when they go in and try out the dashboard on their own for the first time? Like, what would you recommend that they be aware of or try out?
Well, Kelly, I'll start. I think just going to the dashboard and becoming familiar with how do you log into, I mean, you don't have to pay for a training, but how do you add participants? What do you need in terms of their email? And if you need any other information, also for payments, and then just registering a training, you can click on that and you don't have to submit it, but at least you'd be familiar with everything that is there before you are ready to plan your training. So you can't, as we tell the teachers, you can't, or the other educators, you can't break it. So you can just look at it and test it out and see how things go. And that way, if you have questions before you're trying to schedule a training, you would be ready for it.
I concur with all of that for sure. Explore, explore, explore. I mean, you won't really get a handle or a feel for it until you go in and you use it. And then, of course, I found it extremely helpful having the affiliate trainer village handy right there on that page. You know, it was just so easy to get the training videos, to pull everything up right like that. Super easy. So this is like a one-stop shop, and I love it so far.
And if like the version 4 training, you go to that affiliate page in order to access that training prior to. So I'm sure everybody has done that already, but for the version 4, and I like that you can access all the videos right there on the same page. So you're not looking for a jump drive and trying to click back and forth in and out. All of the resources are there.
All right, great. Well, thank you so much for sharing those tips with everyone. So I'm going to take the screen back just for a minute, and we're going to do one more poll. And this one is a little bit fancier. We're going to actually make a word cloud together of what features you all are excited about, so we can all see it together. So what I need you to do is to go to this website, and then you'll see this little question pop up, and you can just type in any response that you want there. And it's fine to do it on your phone, you know, if that's easier, because I know you're all watching a webinar, so anything you want to do it on is great. But that's the link that you'll use. I'm gonna get out of the slides for a second because I have to actually go into this other website for you to get to actually see the word cloud form. So here's the same thing again. You can either do this full link, or you can just go to pollev.com, and then it'll ask you whose poll you want to do, and then you can type Campbell Bowie 466. I'm going to start turning on the responses. So as soon as people start submitting their ideas, it'll start showing up here and forming a word cloud. But I know it takes a little bit of time to get to that link. All right, look, see, we have some words starting to show up. So it looks like people are excited about the reliability report and having everything in one place. It's easy. Yes, that was our goal. So I'm glad you're feeling that way. We got videos. Oh, this is really fun. I love, basically we're doing this because I love making word clouds, and I don't know, I think it's a really cool way to visualize everyone's ideas. Yeah, cool. And so now that more people have responded, we're actually starting to have a trend around the word one, which is very interesting, actually. I'm guessing that has to do with the idea of kind of one-stop shop for everything that you need, including the village. And also, I see the word reliability is getting very large. So I think you all like the reliability report, which that's actually my favorite feature that I'm the most excited about for all of you. So I guess we're kind of on the same page there. I also see sleek, everything, village. This is, yay, inclusive, videos, reports, payments, ease, so many great words. All right, cool. Well, I guess our poll is all full now, but thank you so much for participating in that with us. This is really great. And I'm going to, after this, take a screenshot of it and save it so that we can kind of remember what you were excited about in the future. All right, so going back to the slides, just couple more to present, and I'm gonna actually, Allison, you're going to talk through these, right? So actually, I'll give you presenter back again,
perfect.
so you can do that.
Okay, let's see. There we go. Okay, so what's next? So what's next for you is to get to using the new dashboard. So you can use it to schedule your new introduction training or your next observation training or your class group coaching training. So it's really exciting. You can use it for all of those things, and we're excited for you all to get to using it. I did want to let you know that the current affiliate trainer panel with the graduation hat, it will become inactive sometime in late January. So you will eventually have to start using the new panel, but we hope that you start using it soon and get used to it, and hopefully you like it. And then the last thing that we wanted to talk to you about is that customer support is absolutely ready to help you as you're transitioning to the new panel. So we know it can be tricky, but you know, we are all here to help you as you're getting used to this new system. Hopefully it feels really easy for you. We tried to make it as easy as we could and as user-friendly as possible. So yeah. And now we can just kind of have a little Q&A session. So if you want to, you can type any questions that you might have into the questions section of the GoToWebinar. And we can, these don't have to be questions just for Teachstone. They can be for Bernice and Kelly. They can be for Campbell and I, of course, as well. So we will all try and answer some of your questions.
Allison and Campbell, this is Stephanie. I am going to jump in. There were some questions when you talked about getting set up. Right now, we are in the process of making sure everyone has access. If you do not see the Create Training button, or if you see the Create Training button, but you don't see all the trainings you have access to, just send a note to our customer support so that we can make sure everything is set up for you correctly. But the next question I'll ask all of you, there were some questions around the session dates and the max number of participants for training. Do you mind sharing why we have that set and what to do if your session is going to be, say, more than 2 days?
Yes, that's a great question. And we totally understand why you're asking, because we found that a number of trainers who are currently trying out, in particular, virtual observation training, have asked us, and we've given kind of special approval for the virtual format to train for more than 2 days, because we know that some of you all want to be able to plan to build in extra breaks and shorter sessions to kind of help deal with Zoom fatigue. And so what you can do in that case is, you know, for better or worse, the system is set up for kind of the standard, what the agenda says you do in terms of number of sessions. But how you can handle that is actually use that additional information box to, you know, kind of fill in the start and end times for any additional sessions. And when your participants go in to accept the training, because when you add them, they'll receive an email where they have to go in and acknowledge and accept. And when they do that, that additional information will get shared with them as well. So that way they'll be able to see info on all of the sessions.
And I will just add to that, the reason for the session dates is we have been approved for learning hours and CEUs for each training, and those sessions are used to track that for the individual and provide that information for them in their certificates. There's another question. There were a number of questions around payments. So Campbell and Allison, let me know if you want to tackle these. But one was reviewing the pay by purchase order. what do you do if an agency is paying? Another is how to use discount codes. And then we also had a question about tax exempt and how to do international shipping for Puerto Rico. So that was a bunch of questions.
Sure. So yeah, we can kind of start with some of those things. So one of the things, so if you want to send payment to someone else, there is a way to do that. I can actually show my screen again, and I can show you where that is. So there's a way that you'll be able to still send payment to someone else just like you used to in your old panel. So I'll show my window here. So instead of, we'll click that we're going to pay for all of our participants, and instead of paying for them ourselves, we're going to click request payment. Stephanie, I don't know. Okay, so it is set up in our testing. So what you would do is you would enter in the email address of the person who is paying for the people who are going to your training. So if it's a different organization, you can enter the email address of the person who will be paying here. And you can go ahead and send them a payment request. This is going to send them an email, just like it used to, with a unique payment link that will only work for them. Well, they can send it to someone else, I guess, but it's one link per training, so it will go straight to your training and the people that you've checked off for them to pay for. So if they're only paying for, say, Liz and Gloria in this instance, it will only mark those two people as paid once they've completed the payment link. And through that payment link, they can also pay with a credit card, or they can pay with a purchase order as well, as long as it is over $400. So that's one thing. Stephanie, I know you mentioned something around, what was the other?
Show them the discount code, or sorry.
Sure, yeah. So yes, there is an area for the coupon code. So this is something that, if you did have a coupon code for your training, you would enter it here and it would apply money towards your purchase. Instances where we may use this in the future may be instances such as organizations who have pre-purchased materials. So we know that this doesn't apply to very many trainers. So if you know that your organization doesn't have materials on hand, don't worry about this right now. But if you do already have materials on hand, you're still going to use the current process that you have used. As far as using that Google document to tell us that you're using the materials you have, but you will want to set up your training in your panel and get all the way until your payment portion of your training. So you're going to want to set up the training, put in the dates and times, add your participants to your training, and then let us know on that Google document. And our team is working to change those Google documents to adhere to this new panel, so it will be pretty clear. But like I said, that's a very small group of you. In the future, it may be something like using this coupon code, but right now it is not. But we wanted to build that in just in case that we decide to use it for that in the future, or something similar to that.
Was there a question about like organizations using or payments?
Pay by purchase order for an agency, yeah.
Okay. I'll say what I usually do, and we use another system, so I have to get approval from another system to get the purchase order. So I usually follow that first and then put my information in the Teachstone website or for training. So I have to get the purchase order approved through our agency and our organization, and then I have the purchase order number and the actual purchase order before I put it into the Teachstone portal for training. That's the way that I always handle it. That way I'm not submitting something that I know that hasn't been approved yet.
Yeah, yep. And like you saw as well, it will ask you for the purchase order number, and it will ask you for a PDF of your purchase order. So yeah, like Bernice said, make sure that you've got your purchase order ready, and then you can go into the system and you can fill out the information for billing and shipping and submit the purchase order through the panel.
And then for the question about other shipping options, we can accommodate different shipping. You just have to reach out directly to our customer support for that. Bernice, there's a question which I think you might be able to to answer. Some folks asked if they have a training in the old affiliate trainer panel, can it be moved? And I know we did that with you, so you can share your experience.
Well, yes, my training was already scheduled prior to the pilot opening. So, and then as I said, I saw the email and thought, oh, I want to try this. So what happened was when I applied for the pilot and was approved to test out the new dashboard, then I was able to move the information over to the new system, the new dashboard. And then I didn't have access to the old anymore, but it moved right over. I mean, I was able to put things in for about 20 minutes.
So if anyone is in that situation, just go ahead and send a note to our customer support with that request. There's also a couple questions about virtual. Do we need a separate virtual trainer contract for each age level? And how much additional lead time would you suggest to get approved for virtual training?
Yeah, those are great questions. So right now, the way that the virtual works is that I'll send you, once we've met and talked about your plans for delivering virtual training, I'll send you an addendum to your current trainer agreement, but it will apply to all age levels that you have. So right now, it's just one addendum. And then once you renew your certification for the year, so once you pass your recert for that age level, it will just be included in your future agreement that you are able to deliver the training virtually. So in the future, that will be in there as long as we're doing virtual. And then what was the second question around? Oh, how much time?
Lead time.
Yeah, so I would recommend reaching out probably a month or so before you're starting to, deliver the training, or before you're, when you're doing the preparation phases of your training. Is when it's the best time to reach out. Usually we can, connect within a week or two, so that we can talk about your plans for delivering training. But you don't have to reach out like, 3 months beforehand or anything like that. I would say a month or two beforehand is good. Ideally, you would want to reach out, before you have to make your payments and everything like that in your panel. So yeah, but I would say usually about a month or a little bit more.
We have a couple more questions. Do you want to talk about how you change attendance? I don't know, Bernice, if Kelly, if you needed to change attendance for your participants.
I know that I did have to change attendance, but I was not able to delete anyone, I think, when I was in the pilot stage. So once they're in there, they're in there. If they don't attend, then the system will say at the end, when you finish doing attendance, that this person did not participate.
Yeah, I didn't have to change anyone's attendance. I just marked, and fortunately, I had 100% attendance, so that was not an issue for me.
And I will just add, we cannot delete people after they've been paid. The Teachstone policy, I don't know if Campbell or Allison for cancellation, if you want to cover that.
Yeah, so yeah, if they've already paid for their training, we won't remove them from the training panel. You'll just see that, you'll just see that they haven't attended. And what you'll be able to do is you'll log that person as a credit with our customer support team. So you'll just let them know that you have these materials. This person did pay for the training, but they didn't attend. And what they will do is they'll apply those credits to your future training. So whether it is that same participant or it is a different participant within your organization who will use those materials instead, they can go ahead and mark that next person as paid in your future training when you set that up. So I would just recommend reaching out to them and letting them know that this person paid and they didn't come, and they'll go ahead and log it as a credit. And then when you're ready to use it, you can just let them know, and they'll mark that the person in your panel as paid, so that you can use those materials that you already have for your training.
Allison or Campbell, do you want to talk about if there's any changes to the class group coaching MMCI program?
Sure. Not really. I mean, beyond just the fact that now you can do all of the steps of your registration in the panel, rather than having to reach out to Teachstone to get that set up. But there aren't any changes to the materials or the ways in which, we're asking you to deliver that training. But something just to be aware of is that we are also allowing virtual approval for that. So I guess that is one thing that's different. If any of you haven't heard yet, is that if you need to deliver that virtually this year, you are able to reach out and seek approval for that. And so similar to affiliate training, you want to do that virtually, you'll just contact our customer support team. And then once you do that, they'll give you a little form to fill out that kind of has you say where you are in the process of getting certified, who you're going to train, when you're going to train, etc. And then you will hear back from someone on our professional services team to schedule that conversation. So really the only main difference with that is just that you're going to speak with someone on professional services rather than with Allison to get approved to do that. But in both cases, the process is really just kind of talking through in detail what your plan looks like to make sure that you're going to be able to deliver MMCI with high quality and keep participants engaged in a virtual setting. I don't know if that covers kind of what this person's specific question is about MMCI, but if there's anything more detailed, feel free to let us know and we can kind of respond to that.
Yeah, there were two questions. One was around creating an MMCI cohort, and the other question was whether or not there was any changes to the My Courses experience.
Do you want to take it, Stephanie, or do you want me to take it?
You can take it, Campbell.
Okay, so creating a cohort is literally exactly like what Allison just showed you for an observation training. The only difference is just you'll have more sessions to add, and then you won't have that little reliability report because that only shows up for observation training, because with MMCI you don't have anyone taking a test, but otherwise the process, it's exactly the same, including marking attendance. Similarly for paying, you can kind of break out any groups you want for paying and shipping materials. So it's just the same. And then, similarly, the My Courses experience is just, what you're used to for that part of the training as well.
I did have a question. Please walk through the process for TTA staff who don't usually handle payments but will conduct the training.
Absolutely, yeah. So for TTA staff, so what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and request the training in the panel. So you'll go ahead and set it up essentially, because it's not actually requesting anymore. So no one's approving it on our end anymore. So you'll go in, you'll set up your training, and you'll put in the dates, put in the times, and you'll add your participants to that training. And then you're going to use the Google Forms that you've always used to communicate with our staff about your training. And just let us know that you've set it up in the panel, and then our staff will take it from there with marking those people as paid, so that you will be able to then take their attendance and complete the training and things like that on your end.
Let's see, I'm just checking to see if there's any questions. Do you want to talk about, let's see, how does payment work for tax exempt organizations? I can answer that one. If you are stored in our system already as tax exempt, that will apply at your checkout. If you do not have a tax exempt documentation within our system, you'll want to contact our customer support. They can walk you through what documentation needs to be provided. And then another question was, is there an MMCI tab? When you click that Create Trainings button, if you are set up as an approved MMCI class group coaching coach, you will see that option. And that's where, because we're still moving out of the pilot stage, many of you won't see those yet, and you'll want to just notify customer support if you don't see it. let's see.
I saw a question as well that can individuals be completed but not the whole cohort? What you want to do is you'll mark the attendance for all the individual people, but then you will need to complete the full cohort in order for them to get their tests. So kind of, you'll complete their attendance, but completing the full training can only happen one time.
And how long will an account credit be available?
So the account credit is available until you use it, from what I know. The only thing is that it has to, so if you're trained for multiple age levels, let's say, if it was for a pre-K observation training, the credit can only be applied for another pre-K observation training, just because you already have those physical materials and we won't be resending the physical materials. So what you'll want to do is you'll just hold on to those, keep them in their little sealed package, and set them aside for when you're going to need to use them. But yeah, from what I know, until you use them, I think I would say within a year would be safe, because I think that may be the policy. I would have to double check with our customer support team, but they can definitely let you know whenever you're logging that credit. You can check with them and see if it does expire. I would be, just to be safe though, I would say within the year. A calendar year, not the school year.
Yeah, if we have a few people asking, if you don't see the create button, that is because we haven't yet set up your account. And so you can reach out to customer support and I will work with you to make sure that happens. Let's see, what else do we have? Oh, did you mention the timeline for requesting a training and the payment deadlines? Has anything changed?
Yeah, so I didn't mention it much. So what I will say is, so one thing I did mention is that payment is taking, once you pay for your training, the shipping is taking longer. So it used to be that there was a cutoff in the old panel that you had to make your payment 6 business days before the training. I would say do it at least 2 weeks before your training right now. Just with all the delays in shipping, which are out of our hands, we want to make sure that you get your materials on time. So honestly, the earlier the better. So if you're able to pay for it when you set up your training, that's wonderful. But I would say pay for it at least 2 weeks beforehand, and make sure if you're sending them to separate addresses, that you check in with your participants to make sure they got their materials, a few days before you deliver training. And then as far as requesting the training, I would say just request it, a month or so beforehand, so you have plenty of time to put everything into the panel that you need to, and make all the payments that you need to, and get that all organized with your organization. But yeah, so I would say, the timeline hasn't changed much. The only thing is that you will want to make sure that you pay a little sooner than you normally may have, just to account for shipping delays.
Okay, so there was a number of questions, but I think we've addressed them all. If anyone has any outstanding questions, go ahead and just drop them in the chat so we can make sure we get them.
I saw one that says, what if you're conducting training for more than 2 days? I know we touched on this a little bit. So if you do have a training that's more than 2 days, put in the first 2 days as the dates for your training, and then all additional information you can add to that additional section that you can edit. So you can add the additional date and times there, so that your participants can see that for the day 3. There won't be a way for you to take attendance in the panel for day 3 like you would see normally, but you also can add those notes to that extra section of your training, just so that you have that record and so that we can see that record if your participants call us as well. I did see a question about how many people are in the training, if you can change that. So there is a maximum amount of people that are allowed in each training. So for an observation training, the maximum is 17. You can have up to 17 for that training. And there's similar cutoffs for introduction training as well. There's a maximum number of participants. You don't have to get to that maximum, of course, so you can have less participants if you would like to. But if you need more participants than that, that's not something that we normally have set up in the system. And you would have to contact us to talk to us about that, but it isn't something that we usually have very often. So
Lori is asking that she's been asked for a code by her agency to purchase spots. Is there a code set up that is used?
So there isn't a code set up currently. You may be referring to a code that's used to purchase materials directly from our website. I know that there are some things that have been set up like that in the past. I think that they may be set up like that currently still. In those cases, there are some like direct links that you would get to a private page on our website where you would use a code. And the other code may be just using a product key code and activating a product on your panel. So I'm not super sure. Currently, there isn't a coupon code for the new trainer dashboard, though, that has been set up yet. It's just something that we've built into the dashboard so that we have the option to do it in the future, potentially.
And on top of that, you can always send the payment request directly to the agency.
Yes, yep, definitely.
Anything else for us?
And then Susan asked about customer support. Not sure what she's talking about. I'm going to reach out to customer support right now. But Susan, I will also personally follow up on your access.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for attending.
Yeah, thank you so much. This has been wonderful. And it's so fun as I scroll through, I see lots of names that I recognize. So thank you so much for making the time to be with us. And we're really excited for you to try out the new dashboard the next couple months and let us know what you think. And if you think of more questions after the fact, feel free to send them our way and we'll be, happy to answer those.
And thank you so much to Bernice and Kelly for joining us today. It was lovely to have you.
Thanks.
It's nice to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, it's so wonderful to have your real world perspectives with us on the panel.